Alrighty guys, as you can see, we are at our favorite location for scary stories. My haunted garage, porch, whatever you want to call it. I just heard shut up. I don't know if it was my neighbor or what the Anyways, as I was saying, I know my mullet is grown out, I need a haircut. Let's just ignore it for today. As some of you guys know, as I said in the last video, I do TikTok lives and I'll read some of your scary stories that people will send me on the live so I can read it live. These stories were sent in by the same person and they gave me chills, guys. They gave me chills. So I thought it would be interesting to just put them all together in one video. There's 3 stories in total, but shout out to Carla from TikTok and her dad. Yeah, everybody say thank you, Carla, thank you, Carla, thank you, Carla. Just a little bit of background. I think she's gonna explain it, but her dad used to work at a morgue, I believe back in Mexico. He would transport the bodies, like from the place of death to the morgue. This one is called More Transport Stories. Just a quick one. I have more about his time transporting. It's Carla again. My dad used to pick up bodies and transported them to a small morgue in Puebla. He said that they had to pick up a body after a trucking accident. He says that the guy passed on impact since his chest hit the steering wheel. He says the expression on the man's face was like he had seen death itself. During the transport process, he says they felt like chains were being dragged from the back of the truck where they carried the bodies. During the night, while they were sleeping and working security, he says that they heard the chains in the garage where the truck was rattling violently. Mind you, these chains were big. They were water chains. It took 3 people to get them on the truck and were used for pulling out cars or other stuff when it was in water. He says that they ran in there thinking someone was trying to steal, but no one was there, and the chains were unmoved. Him and my uncle kept hearing the chains rattling throughout the night and would occasionally get up to check, but they couldn't go after a while from the fear they felt. He says that it wasn't just fear, it was dread. Have y'all heard that? Sometimes in places where people have passed away, you can feel like how they felt when they were dying. You can feel their emotions, you can feel their like injuries. Like I remember at the Queen Mary, one of the kids that was there started feeling like their knee was hurting.
Oh, it feels...
I feel like I can't breathe over here. Her knee's hurting again.
So last time when we were just walking down here, we were sitting like right here, and out of nowhere, like my whole knee just started hurting.
There's some lady that they said that she fell down the stairs.
Supposedly at that staircase, somebody like fell and died or whatever. Some people will feel like they're drowning or they can't breathe in places where people drowned or were strangled. People feel like... Okay, so I'm gonna insert what my mom said about the chains dragging. Because originally I thought it meant that the devil was here when you hear chains dragging.
Se estaban manifestando.
¿Sabes por qué no te gustan tanto? Porque sabe como peanut butter.
¿Sí? Yo creo que se estaban manifestando porque cuando mueren en accidentes se quedan ahí y no se van porque no saben que murieron, no saben qué pasó. Entonces no siguen la luz, no saben qué pasó. Entonces es una manera de llamar la atención.
¿Para llamar la atención?
Para que sepan que ahí están, o sea, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué les pasó?
Yo antes escuchaba.
Alright, Nelly, shut the fuck up already. Actually, before we get started with the second story, I brought out this little device. It's our little... This is our little EVP recorder, electronic voice phenomenon, which is just like voices. I don't know if y'all have seen Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters, but they use EVP recorders. To capture voice. But to capture voices that you cannot catch with the human ear. So sometimes our electronics will pick up things that I won't hear until later on. Although on the rare occasion, I'll hear a voice or I'll hear like a grunt. Usually it sounds like a something like that. And then I'll look later in the footage and it's an actual voice talking. So let's see. Ghost or whoever or whatever is listening. What do you think about the story we just heard? That was a kid screaming. Again, ghost or whoever or whatever is listening, what do you think about the story we just heard? That was a kid screaming. I'm guessing the ghost doesn't want to talk to us today and there's too many people outside. Although, our ghost seems to be way more active in the daytime for some reason. Let me know what that means, guys. Anyways, story number 2. My dad transported a little girl who had passed of health-related issues at around 7 or 8. He says he felt this death on a deeper level because he had a little girl of his own. Me, not me, Carla. He says he always talked to the people he transported and that this time he played a song for the little girl, which he always played and sang for me. Mi Piquito de Oro. If you've heard this song, you know that it is a sweet song about love and your beautiful treasure. My dad stayed anytime there were children or women in the morgue because he didn't want bad things to happen to them. And in parentheses, men would sometimes break in and essay the bodies of children and women. Disgusting, shame on you, kill yourself, you should die. While he was in the security room alone, he felt like someone was touching his arm. He says the presence wasn't bad, the presence felt safe and happy. In the room, they had a little radio which almost never worked, but he says that throughout that night, Mi Piquito de Oro would come through the static sometimes, and every time it did, he would sing the song. And in parentheses, I love my dad. You love your dad too. Your dad seems like such a nice guy. I cannot reiterate that enough. So again, this was read on TikTok Live. So right here it says read the story to yourself first to see if you can read it without getting banned. But I can read it explicitly on YouTube. So my dad told us that one time he had to pick up the wife of a dealer who had been murdered. The story goes that the wife was killed and later dumped in the river. She was also about 6 months pregnant at the time. The informant said that the baby had been taken, cut out, and dumped somewhere else down the river. My dad and uncle were called and they started searching along with other volunteers. As the search was coming to an end, they found both of them dead. But the mother was cradling her baby. They have no idea how this could have possibly happened since they were dumped in separate places. I got chills again. That is so sad and so sweet at the same time. There are just some things that you can't explain, guys. I think before I started recording or started kind of blowing up on TikTok or whatever, I would just kind of be like, oh, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake to everything I would watch. But then people started calling my videos fake. Well, it's like 1 or 2 people. They just assumed that what I was doing was fake or whatever. And now, after reading those comments, I'm like, damn, how much shit that I've seen on the internet that I've called fake is actually real. Something to think about. It's one of those things that you can't see it until you experience it. What do you think about the story of the little girl and the song that her dad would sing? What do you think about the story of the little girl and the song that her dad would sing? Ghost, if you're listening, why do you show up when you're not wanted, but when you're wanted and we want to communicate with you, you don't talk to us? I feel like it looks like I'm mewing, but this is just my face, guys. Ghost, if you're listening, why do you show up when you're not wanted, but when you're wanted and we want to communicate with you, you don't talk to us? Transport story part 3. I spoke to my dad again and he told me more stories. These stories aren't scary because they don't really involve ghosts, but they're scary because they remind you that you should be scared of those who are alive more than those who are dead. My dad says that one of his first jobs was to go pick up the body of someone who had been poisoned and stabbed by his wife. He says that the lady bought some type of poison from a witch in the town. The wife put it in his food, and after the guy was poisoned, she grabbed a knife and stabbed him multiple times in the face. The man was barely recognizable. She had gone straight for his face and chest. His funeral was a closed casket for sure. That reminded me of the story that my mom told that she would go when she was in Mexico. She would go to the literal funerals of people and just to go see what they look like. Oh my God. Okay, another story he has is one where a victim kept visiting him in his dreams. My dad says that a young man was killed. At the time, they didn't know how he died, but they suspected it was due to his friends at school being jealous. The guy, probably 15 or 16, died after falling and hitting his head. My dad, as I've said before, talked to the bodies because he thought that they were still around trying to understand what happened. My dad says he told the guy to trust him, and if he knew what happened, they would try hard to figure it out. My dad says that he had a reoccurring nightmare of him falling that same night, and every time he went to sleep, he kept falling in his dream until it eventually turned into him feeling like he was being pushed before he fell. He kept having his dream for about 3 nights, and he eventually decided to go talk to the young victim's family so that they could further investigate it. They eventually figured it out through a witness that he had been pushed by one of the guys on his soccer team. Recently, I've been watching a lot of crime documentaries. Oh my God. I'm not even scared of this damn ghost no more. Like, what are you gonna do? Freaking look at me while I'm on the toilet? Speaking of that, I was in the bathroom the other day. I was taking a shower, and then I hear like a girl moaning, and it sounded like it was like on the other side of the shower curtain. I was so like, I don't know why it pissed me off. I was like, just shut the f up and get out. Like, why when I'm in the shower, bitch? I'm insecure. You can't see me like that. Oh, let's ask her. He goes, are you mad at me or something? I think I heard something. Let's play it back. He goes, are you mad at me or something? Deleting all my social media. Don't hit me up. Oh my God, that was so stupid. I'm sorry. Ghost, is it pink? Everybody's body is beautiful, right? Everyone's different. Forget I said that. Don't cancel me. I'm sorry. So those were all the stories for today. I know this video is going to be a little short, a little serious. I highly recommend you guys follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I go live on both of those platforms sometimes, but on TikTok, I read scary stories. We might go somewhere soon to go ghost hunt, and I need your input on what questions to ask the ghosts. So, oh my God, there's actually another scary story here. I was with this guy. The next day, I tried to buy a Plan B, but they were all sold out. Apparently this man had bought the whole stock. What? Huge shout out to Carla and her dad for providing us these stories. They were super interesting. They gave me fucking chills, all that good stuff. So thank you, Carla. Everybody say thank you, Carla, in the comments. Thank you to everybody who's ever sent a story. The email to send stories will be down below. So what else I gotta say? Team Wendy. I was just saying this to be relatable, guys. I don't actually care. I'm almost 30 years old.